Now, I'd just like to bring Michael Gardner back into the virtual stage. Michael is from Aqaix, and he will be talking about finance, ledger, and the digital, which I will be very interested in reading. So, Michael, please come back to the stage. Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. So I had a presentation a few minutes ago. You know from that perhaps a little bit about our company, Aqaix. We have 3 products. I have a presentation on this tomorrow, so I'm not really going to talk much about our finance marketplace or our digital products now, but I am going to focus on our ledgering product. That product is based upon a new technology for data called distributed ledger technology, sometimes abbreviated DLT, distributed ledger technology. And that is based upon a technology that people have heard about called blockchain. There's a lot of mystique, good and bad, around blockchain. People have heard many things about it, and it almost has this kind of magic aura now at this point about, ooh, blockchain, or now it's in what they call the trough of disillusion, like, oh, blockchain, baby, I don't want to touch it. But the reality is blockchain is just another data storage technology. Databases have gone through many generations in the last 70 years, generations of software architecture. For a long time, we were in the relational era from the roughly 1990 to, and there still is a lot of relational databases basically, but starting about 15 years ago, there was a lot of research going into what are called distributed decentralized databases. There are many flavors of those. And the upshot of that is the data storage system that is what is in a ledgering system that is based on a DLT. That is the database that is at the back end of cryptocurrency systems such as Bitcoin and other currencies, but you don't have to store cryptocurrency on them. You can store many other things. Next slide, please. And with those in Water, we can implement a ledgering or a bookkeeping system to take care of various types of transactions. And so what we have in our cloud finance platform, along with our other products, is we have this capability to bring, on the one hand, cities and regulators and utilities, and we can then bring money to the table. And we also can bring in private property owners, and they can all participate in transactions, but they can use this cloud-based bookkeeping system to ledger those transactions. One of the very, very important things about a distributed ledger system is that you can write the data in such a way that it is effectively immutable. People say that it's tamper-proof or and so forth, but I prefer to say that it's tamper-evident. And it's there. These are very highly secure systems. It's technically possible to crack them, but the probability of that is relatively low based on the computing power that it would take. So in the end, you can write these transactions that cannot be tampered with and become immutable. And if you think about a deed and the process of recording successive filings onto a deed for a property, and the fact that now this deed is registered, shows that Mike Gardner owns it, and then later it shows that somebody else owns it, and you can look through the history of things. These kinds of ledger transactions can become very valuable in many different areas of Water. Next slide, please. We have studied this, and there are 4 primary use cases that we have been working on for our new product. Basically, one is for groundwater balance management. As in Australia, there's a very severe groundwater challenge in many parts of the USA and furthermore around the rest of the world. But in particular in California, where our home is, there are lots and lots of different groundwater issues, and there are many areas in which they're moving to market-based systems, which in Australia you have, hats off to you, you've been doing for years and years and years. They're relatively new in America in the context of water balance management. But a ledgering system such as what we have is a really great match for that particular use case. Another example is for ledgering private investment rebates. And utilities around the world find that it can be effective from a capital expense perspective to, instead of building new capital capacity and operations capacity, to instead incentivize behavior changes. One very famous example of this in the United States is in the city of Las Vegas. Nevada, they have been running now for some period of time, 5 years, I believe, 7 years. They've been running a very successful program to incentivize landowners to dig up their lawns and put in instead drought-tolerant landscaping, and they will rebate to the landowner for doing that. And the amount of capital that they put into that is something like $10 million a year, but that has been able to offset some several $100 million of capex of capital expenditures to build additional capacity and storage and distribution and so forth. And then finally, the final one is being able to have an immutable record of the water test quality. As chemicals become more pernicious and public trust in their water erodes, it can be useful to say, look, here is a public and immutable record of the fact that we tested it on that date and it was clean. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. I'm, in the interest of time, I'm just going to focus on one last slide here, basically. This is kind of a cross-section of how this investment rebate ledgering process works, basically. So someone goes out and they basically want to apply. They go through an online process, basically, to do the application. The agency basically records that, and the property owner schedules an inspection. The site is deemed to be suitable for the upgrade. The property owner then contracts, the contractor installs it, there's a subsequent inspection, and every single stage of this can be ledgered in an immutable way on this bookkeeping system. And I believe I'm out of time now, but thank you very much. And looking forward to the rest of the conference. And I'm happy to discuss, there's my email if anybody has any questions or would like to discuss this.
Thank you so much, Michael.